All right. So let's continue. Let's to read the verses from the book of Matthew 24, 1 to 14. Again, Jesus came out from the temple and was going away when his disciples came up to point out the temple buildings to him. And he said to them, "Do you not see all these things? Truly I say to you, not one stone will be left upon another, which will not be torn down." As he was sitting in the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things happen, and what will be the sign of your coming at the end of the age?" And Jesus answered and said to them, "See to it that no one misleads you. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will mislead many. You will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but not yet the end. For nation will rise nations against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. But all these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. Then they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you, and you will be hated by all nations because of my name. That time many will fall away and will betray one another and hate one another. Many false prophets will rise and will mislead many. Because of lawlessness is increased, most people's love will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Praise the Lord. So let me title my presentation this morning, Christians are endangered species. We are endangered species. If I say Christian, Christianity defined as to the followers of Jesus Christ, not in the name only or certain denomination or sect in name, but regardless of affiliation, Christians, those who fulfill the instructions of the Bible. So regardless of where you are now, what church you belong today, as long as you're following the instruction of the Lord Jesus Christ written in the Bible, then you are called Christians. So even if the name of your organizations are not Christians, but you are following the Bible, you are still Christians. You are still a follower of Jesus Christ. So I said that Christians are endangered species. I'd like to present to you this morning the three imminent reasons. Imminent, ibig sabihin, big, well-known, profound, and extravagant. So the three imminent reasons why. Reason number one, because as you go along on that verses, you can see that there is a rise of wrong teachings named false prophets. Sometimes they look good because they are very good speakers. You can hear from them their presentation in their stage presentation, their public performance. They're very good. They're very captivating. They are very uh, convincing. They have convincing power. But that is not the way it should be. So one of the indication of a false prophet is this: they are very good in pulpit performance or stage performance. Number one, number two is they are good in verse-to-verse sermon. I'm not saying that is wrong, but the tendency of using these verses sometimes, especially when those questions are being asked, tanong kayo tapos ako ang sasagot, to Biblia ang sasagot. But technically, when priests do that, sometimes because of pride, they attempt to use verses which is not contextually related to the issue. And yet it was as if the the the, the approach is, the answer is very good, but the context of the verse being used is incontextual to the question, or irrelevant to the question. By the way, the Old Testament Bible they are looking at the people in the Old Testament era. I mean, what I'm saying is that before Jesus Christ, they're looking at the fulfillment of the Messiah. And us being Christians, we believe that the Messiah being promised in the Bible, the first prophecy in the Bible, as far as I know, the Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, they're looking for the Messiah, the Savior one, and then 400 years, silent years, and then comes Jesus Christ in the New Testament. The New Testament, they were, they were, uh, all the people were governed with Latin people, Roman, and yet the universal language during those days were Greek. Second na lang yung Latin. So, we need to understand that there are contextual presentation that is not fitting to us today. There are cultures that are not fitting today. Especially when you go back, trace back to the patriarchal period. But the question is, which of those that we need to carry on, or which of those that we cannot do it? So that's the other question. I have no time to present it to you, but what I'm saying, the word verse to verse approach is we should be careful in hearing of this simply because it might be the context. For example, I heard, Tagalogin ko to, sabi ng isang tanong, nagkasala ka ba, o sa Bisaya pa, makasala ba daw ang tao kung mag-masturbate? No? So, I heard one CFD, Catholic Faith Defender, he defended it that it was sin. I'm not saying that it's not sin. What I'm saying is that the question was, is it wrong or is it sin to masturbate? So he was quoting about the issue of, I think Genesis chapter 37, about the brother, elder brother died, and the widow have no son or offspring. It was the culture that the second child next to the elder brother will assume the widow just to produce an offspring, but it will be credited to the elder brother. So the issue there was that he burst into the ground, he masturbated so that he cannot have an offspring to that widow. So he was using that, but to use that kind of verse, that is wrong. Because it was their particular, or what we call that patriarchal issue, to have an offspring. I'm not saying that it's not wrong to masturbate. What I'm saying is that the use of the words or the use of the verse, it was not contextual to the question. Whereas when we can say that in the book of Corinthians, Romans, Galatians, it speaks about mind. If your mind is not good, even if you are not masturbating, then you still committed sin. Much more if you do that. So in Matthew chapter 5 and Matthew chapter 19, it speaks about whoever looks at a woman and have something, or he already committed an adultery. So that's the point. So better to use that verses rather than the verses on Genesis chapter 37. I hope I have given my point on that area. So the word verse-to-verse sermon, we should be skeptical whether the use of words is perfect or correct. So mas maganda pa rin yung pag-aralan natin yung mga verse na pinipresent para sa atin. But most of the Rome preachers, they were quoting verses. We call nga, tawag yan, systematic theology. Just to entertain, just to cater the question. And if you have no idea, then what you need to do, you will just be nodding with your head that, ang galing talaga niya, magaling talaga siya. Yun ang nangyayari. So, what I'm saying is that one of the criteria of those people, eloquent speaker, and then they have, it seems to have verses in the Bible to present it to us. What I'm saying is, we should be careful on the verses being presented. I'm not saying that it is wrong to present the verse. Needed po yun. We need to have the verse to present it. But we need to give the verse contextually. Ibig sabihin, fitted, akma doon sa questions. So, another one is, one of the criteria of those false teachers or wrong teachings is, aside from being eloquent speaker, verse-to-verse presentation, is most of them, they proclaim their priesthood, that uh, sila lang yung mga chosen individual na hindi ka dalalo sa kanila, hindi ka maliligtas. Most of them, if I may, I will not mention denominations or religion, but there were people in the old times already have uh, that kind of mentality that God revealed to them, and so on and so forth, so that we need to obey them, because if we will not follow them, and then uh, we cannot be saved. Again, one of the imminent reason is that the rise of wrong teaching or false prophet. Number two reason of the imminent danger reason why Christians are endangered is the increasing of persecution. But before that, why I say endangered Christians? Because many are being convinced of those kind of presentation, yung sabi ko, wrong teaching of false prophets. Okay? So, another one is the increasing of persecution. Now, according to the Bible, sabi pa nga niya dyan, yung tanong ng mga tao, sabi niya, I would like to read it in the King James Version. Sabi niya, let me start from verse 3 of King James Version, so Matthew 24, verse 3. Nung si Jesus andun sa private place, sabi niya, he was in the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the end? Or what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Verse 4, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and shall deceive many. Yun yung sinasabi ko ninyo kanina, wrong teachings. Deceive many. Alright. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ. Okay. Verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars, and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Alright. The increasing persecution. Okay, let me have a literal presentation. When Jesus said this, the temple that the disciple was pointing at was the temple being reconstructed already, not the original one being built by King Solomon. So because it was broken down during the time of Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonian captivity, and then reconstructed it before Jesus came, they reconstructed it. And so, parang sinasabi ng, kita mo Lord, ang ganda ng templo, sabi ni Jesus, kanina binasa natin sa verse 2. Darating ang panahon na walang bato, Bisaya pa, ipatong na to sa bato. It will be totally ruined, that's the point. Totally ruined. And you shall hear wars. During these days, there were no wars, because at this point of time when Jesus said that there was no a nation Israel during those days. Remember that they were already captivated more or less 500 BC, and they are only reconstructed or restated as one Israel again in 1948, May 14, 1948. So that's a long time. So why he said that you will hear wars, a series of wars. Itong pagkasabi nito, it speaks about the future war during those days. Okay. So isa sa mga wars kung if we study about the church history, the reason why the Roman Empire deteriorated simply because of the feudalism. Sabi ko nga in one of my videos, because of the feudal system. They were just they were deteriorated because of the federal system or feudal state. And since there was a individual state action or proliferation of the state, so it's normal to have a conflict. It's normal to have conflict. So ito yung series of war. Sabi niya, it more or less 70 AD, of course, when Jesus died, he died at the more or less AD 27, not AD 33, because Jesus was born in the 9th BC. So 33 minus 9, so more or less that is 20 plus. Okay? So at the AD 70 or 65, starting from AD 65, the son of Vespasian, a commander of Italian commander, so assigned King Nero, his son. And then to shorten the story, they were deteriorated and they were scattered abroad because of the persecution. So yung pagkasabi doon na comes a time that there is not stone piled upon stone, yung walay bato, ipatong sa bato, it happens during the time of under the command of Vespasian and the leadership of King Nero during this time, in more or less AD 70. Then, after that, there was a persecution, total persecution, more or less 200 BC. I will say 200 BC. There were persecutions literally in the Christians. Again, there is no other offense that they did except that they were believers of Jesus Christ. And most of the empire or emperor persecuted Christians, to the point that they were hiding in the caves. They were living in the caves. They were living, and the name of the caves, catacombs. If you are my student before, so you know what I mean, catacombs. So, persecution. The only thing that the Christians have freedom to exercise their belief after when Constantine converted into Christianity in 312 AD. And he declared an Edict of Milan. You can Google that, Edict of Milan in 313 AD, the freedom of Christian to exercise Christianity because he was converted as Christian. But before that, there was a literal persecution. Fast forward natin. After the establishment of the church, or I may say Roman Catholic Church, some of it were good, depending upon who the Pope was sitting as the Pope, depende lang. But there were also is not so good also. So at the medieval period, let me start from 900 BC, 900 AD. When you say medieval, more or less 1000 AD. So there was persecution of Christians. Especially when 700 AD, the proliferation of, or the expansion of the Mohammedans, because Mohammedan expanded in the late 600 AD up to the present. So because of the expansion, there were persecutions in some places, and Christians became cold in their service, especially that they are not rooted as Christians. So they were easily converted into other belief because of the death threats. Okay, and because of that, Dominic, one of the monks, started an organization, or we call that, organization, and he penetrated in the schools, and the word fraternity, brotherhood, to claim that who are the loyal to their belief. And the Pope during this time, I forgot the name of that Pope, allowed Dominic to create an organization in the schools just to prove who are the true believers. So there was an initiation whether or not you are a true Christian. So yun, nangyayari na yung hazing during those times to prove that you are really a Christian. That started in Dominic's time. So there are persecution, and especially at the late medieval period, when there was a rise of Protestantism, not only Martin Luther, but there was already a rise of Protestantism even at the time of 11th century. John Huss, who's the other one? John Knox, and there are several people who wanted to reform the church, not to get out from the church, but wanted to reform the church back to the beginning by the time of Constantine. I don't know if you get my my church history, shortened church history. And because of that, they were not allowed by the Pope, so persecution comes. So, especially by the time of Martin Luther, so there was a freedom of Protestantism because since the church, the Pope, the Roman Catholic leadership during those days cannot hold on to, cannot preempt or cannot stop Martin Luther because of the invention of the printing press in 14th century. So comes the, uh, what's the name of it? I forgot. Uh, Comes the total persecution of uh, those non-Christians or not belong to the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah, I remember the word. Inquisitors. Inquisitors. So the church built an inquisitor, and if they were not believers or as a weakling, maluyahon nga Christians, then they will be persecuted. They will be murdered, they will be killed, and their properties will be taken from them. That was the beginning. I remember that it was Ignatius Loyola who started the Inquisitions or Inquisitors. So more that you read your church history, and then I'm not saying it in because church is a broad topic, so just read your history. So persecution increasingly, not only by the time of uh, the believers or the disciples of Jesus Christ, the persecutions, every now and then, there were persecution. And today, what happens when we are stopped to go to church is not a persecution, but because of the issue of health. I think that is not persecution. That is not persecution. But literally, there are countries today, especially, I think, if I'm not wrong, sorry if I'm wrong, but an average of 7 churches a year being born in Indonesia and some other part of the world. So, thank God they're persecuted because they are true Christians. Because if you are not persecuted, then probably you are the persecutors. Joke lang. Alright, the 3 imminent reasons why Christians are endangered, yun ang number 1, the rise of wrong teachings or false prophets. The second one, because of the increasing persecution. The third one, that I'd like to deliver this morning is the decreasing love or the word agape of many. Paano nangyayari yon? Ito yung pinaka-danger. Sa tanang danger, ito yung ang pinaka-danger. Because sabi niya in verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax old. Sabi dito sa NSB, because of lawlessness is increased, most people's love will grow cold. Yun yung love na ibig ko sabihin na ang original na I'm using na, by the way, for those Bible students, I'm using an e-sort 2016 by Rex Mayer presentation. So you can download it. It's an offline. Pwede na ma-download siya. 2016 edition or e-sort. E-sort. Yung love dyan ay originally, it speaks about agape. Yung love dyan. So the increase of lawlessness, ito pala, the increase of lawlessness, yung iniquity, ang pagkasabi dito sa Bible, iniquity. So let us look at the original word of iniquity. It comes from the word anomia. Greek word is anomia. So whether it is violation of law and wickedness, then transgression of the law, and then unrighteousness. When we say transgression, ano yung mga magandang bagay sinusuway mo, that is part of iniquity. Because of the increase of lawlessness, people demand of their freedom and liberalism or liberalism. So what I'm saying today is, it's good to have freedom, but freedom must be governed with certain standard, and that standard hopefully will start from the standard of the Bible. Kasi nga, there are some people who say that killing is not bad, because that is according to their belief that if they can kill people who are not belong to their group, then he will say, that is their standard. So ano ba talaga ang tama? Some people will say, the, for the sake of art, that's why they're doing this kind of yung sobrang ising damit, ganito kasi for the sake of art. Sa mga movies, yung issue ng freedom of art, kahit na masama, kasi nga art daw expression. You know what? There is danger in too much exercise of freedom. If that freedom is not governed with the Bible, we'll sad to say that is lawlessness. Freedom that is not based on the Bible standard, biblical standard. Christian, we should be aware because we tend to follow, we tend to obey the standard of the world rather than what the Bible is saying to us. Yun ang masakit doon. The love of many, the decreasing love of Christianity. Why? Because, kulit sa church lagi. Pag nasa church ka, bawal lang ganito, bawal lang ganyan. Ang daming mga bawal pag Christian ka. Samantala kung dito kami, wala kaming mga bawal. Depende sa amin. If we feel good and we have to do it. Well, sabi ko nga, freedom is not bad, but freedom should be governed with standard. And that standard is the Bible. Because without the standard of the Bible, that freedom is again lawlessness. Pasensya na, lawlessness yan. Pwedeng tama yun sa isip mo. But the Bible has a standard. Yung sabi dun sa Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. And His righteousness is written in the Bible. It is not written on your standard, in your righteousness, on your freedom, on your liberalism issues. No. We are governed with standards from the Bible. Again, if your freedom, your liberty is against with the standard of the Bible, sad to say, we call that in the Bible iniquity. And that's the reason why there is a coldness of your love to God. Mamaya sasabihin ko, ano ba ang delikado doon? Sabi ko nga, of all these three, ito yung pinakadelikado. Increase of lawlessness, demand of freedom and liberalism. If I may say it again, I'm too much, I'm almost 1 hour now. Pero, after the judges, balikan natin after si Moses, nag-succeed na leader to bring the Israelites to the promised land, Canaan land or Canaan land, was Joshua. When Joshua, about his age, people were settling in the places where they were assigned, and then people were following other gods. That's why in Joshua 24:16, he said that, choose you now this day whom you will serve, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And then after Joshua, there was the group of the people were governed with judges. And there were about 13 judges in the Bible, 13 or 14 judges in the Bible. And because of that, people demanded a king. And because of their neighbors governed with kings. God said to Samuel that it was not a time yet because God was raising his king after his own heart. But the people were so demanding. That's why God gave Saul as the permissive good king. So, iniquity has something to do with not following the standard of the Lord. So, look at it. What was the event or happenings during the time also? So, there was not good management of the whole Israelites. Because it was an iniquity, lawlessness. It was not the standard of the Lord. So, another one, decreasing love of God is the day-to-day comparison. Ito yung pinakamatindi. Because of our, I'm having live, sir. Because of our day-to-day comparison or competition, we are competing other people with the standard of what they have, and we wanted to what they have, we should have. So, competition is a very dangerous threat of the enemy. Because competition diminish your contentment. natanggal yung contentment mo, you loses your trust in the Lord, faith in the Lord, because you want to have what they have. So you can, kaya nga ikaw, trabaho ka ng trabaho. Hindi ko sinasabi na mali yung magtrabaho. Ang sinasabi ko, mali yung competition o comparison. If those people have this, we should have this. Pwede naman. But again, we are governed with the standard of the Bible. So ito yon. The love of many shall decrease. Now, why Christians are endangered species? Simply because of these three main reasons. But of these three, the last one is very essential to know. That because of comparison and competitions, we lose our faith. I would like to emphasize that yung love natin sa Panginoon, because of comparison and competition, nagiging idolatrous tayo. When we say idolatrous, we set God as the second level or third priority rather than the first priority. Sabi niya doon sa Exodus chapter 20, you shall not have other God before me. Ibig sabihin, because He is a God, need to be observed, need to be followed, and He must be the first priority. If your God is your second or third priority, sad to say, you are an idolatrous person. And that's the danger. Why you are idolatrous? Because of the comparison and the competition. I hope I have made myself clear on that issue. But I would like to conclude this in verse 24:13 of that verse. Ako nang ibasa kanina, sabi niya, but the one who endures to the end, he will be saved. In the King James Version, he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. The same shall be saved. Ang saved dyan, ang pagkagamit dyan sa Greek word is sodezo or sodizo. So, ibig sabihin, to save or delivered or protected, preserve, and do well, be whole. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng save. So paano tayo how will we react on what is going on to this world today? Ito lang, number one, yun nga sa 24:13. He that shall endure unto the end shall be saved. Hold on to your faith. Continue to do good for God. Kung tumulong naman lang kayo, help that expecting of nothing in return. Tumulong kayo na dahil nangahawa kayo. So, without expectation of any return, I believe that is the right thing to do today. And don't be intimidated with your faith and your standard. Don't be intimidated by other influence. Sometimes people, pastors, will not preach the gospel simply because of they are afraid to lose other members. They are afraid that their members will not go to church, will not give to the church anymore because they're talking or they're telling the wrong thing on the standard of that person. Again, pastors, we are the bearers of the righteousness of Christ. So we should not be intimidated with those influence. The Lord will feed you. The Lord is calling you. He is responsible for your need. He is responsible for my need. So do not be intimidated with those people. Huwag kang matakot kung aalis sila sa simbahan. Kung aalis sila, walang problema yan. Kasi nga, sinasabi mo, pili ka. Manatili siya sa church ninyo, sa building ninyo, na ma-imperno kayo, o magsilayasan sila. So, nandun ka na. Sinasabi ni Lord sa iyo na, welcome, good and faithful pastor. Enter into my kingdom. Kasi pag di mong sasabihin yung totoo sa Bible, you belong to Matthew 7:22-23. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Only those who obey my Father's will. So, ibig sabihin, kung ayaw nyo, so normal lang talaga na may mga tao na hindi nakagusto sa ato. Kasi sinasabi natin yung what is written in the Bible. Tayo ang may karapatan na mag-share sa mga tao. Because these people, You cannot expect them to believe on other, or they can have a good moral standard on other people. They are expecting good moral from us. Tapos tayo pa pag magpa-intimidate pa tayo sa kanila ng dahil sa influence or whatever reasons. So pastors, continue to do your ministry. Masagasaan ako, masagasaan. Matamaan kung matamaan. At least we have done our part. God bless us all. Till next time. God bless you.